Oh, goodness. Hey, y'all. Okay. That's something new. Whoever just hit that like button, thank you. Thank you. I got to try to get this glare off the camera. So, y'all give me a second. Let me see if I can get this. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. Hi. So, oh, I needed that light, child. So much going on. So much going on. My contact is so dry. Tirana, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Happy Tuesday, people. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Thank y'all for hitting that like button. Thank you. Sherry, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Janie, hey, how you doing? Boom, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Butterflyness. Hey. Jana, hey. Career for life. Hey, how are you guys doing? Oh my goodness. We got a whole lot of going on. Y'all gonna have to excuse me. This the shower bun. It is what it is. Y'all gonna have to talk about it later. It is what it is right now. This is what we're running with. So this is what we're running with right now. So I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, Janie. Thank you for asking. Oh my goodness. Chocolate chip, hey, how you doing? How are you doing? Missy, hey, how you doing? Hilda Land, hey. How you guys doing today on this beautiful Tuesday? Oh, Lord. Boom, you always keep your hair on point. Don't do that. I see you. Y'all, I'm a whole lot of, okay? Just a whole lot of. Thank you, Jana. Thank you. It's a whole lot. it's just a lot, okay? So it's a lot. I don't know where to start. I found out some stuff last night that was going on. I didn't know the stuff had been going on for days. I was just behind. So I guess I need to try to catch up on some things. But it's just a whole lot of stuff has been going on. So thank you, Miss Denise. I'm sitting here and y'all, let me start off by saying this. Let me see. I knew what you were talking about. Let me start off by saying this, y'all. Okay, listen. Please. I don't know why I'm using this remote. I gotta talk with the remote. Please don't allow this YouTube stuff to get you in a place that you can't get out of. You know what I mean? Like, don't. Oh, Lord have mercy. Y'all, all the talk about people getting locked up and all this stuff, and oh my goodness. I was told yesterday I was on the list. Okay. Okay, just make sure you pay my bills for me. But please don't let this stuff, don't get so wrapped up in this stuff that it costs you your livelihood. I'm just looking And I saw the reactions from a lot of people yesterday with some of the stuff, well, last night with some of the stuff that was, that had transpired with one particular person and what happened with him. And I saw that a lot of people were upset. One of my little homies was upset, and you know, we still represent South Cat. You know, it is what it is. Because it's not personal. Like that, this part is not personal for me. But y'all, and I spoke on Pap's channel last night, but I wanted to say just on mine, please just try not to get caught up in the mess. And the sad part is that you do have, okay, that for me, this thing is like multi-dimensional to me, because there are a few factors that come into play for me. The first thing that you have is that you have people that are deliberately going out there, and not saying that this is what happened in the situation with DB, but you have a lot of people that are going out there and intentionally putting disingenuous information out there about people. I mean, that's the nice way of me saying lies about people to get them hemmed up, and not even so much in a legal matter, but just to put a bad, you know, so that people have a bad perception about people. And the sad part to me is this is the same thing that the media and other people have been accused of doing to a particular person. And we see the cycle continuing. So either the people really don't disagree with what the media is doing, or they've started to learn from what the media is doing and they picked up on some of the media's tricks. That's the only thing that I can possibly get from it. Another thing with this, and Carib, that's for me, I think it's just foolishness. I think it's foolishness. And at the end of the day, whatever it takes to get $1, and that's just my opinion, whatever it takes to get $1. I told you guys before, like, all this stuff is about clicks and views. I gave up on the click and view stuff a long time ago. Just at some point, and I know everybody may not feel the same, and I'm like, you can have it. You can have the clicks, you can have the views. Let me go over here and talk about this little stuff right here, and y'all can have all that stuff and just leave me out of it. And you can see that even when you try to stay out of the buffoonery, you'll still have people trying to pull you into the buffoonery. But it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. But it's sad to see that people are getting so caught up and a lot of this stuff that, you know, you find yourself like you start losing control. And that's what I'm seeing, because if another person can dictate what happens in your life, if other people and what they say can dictate how you move, then you have lost control. Now, the situation that I was just made aware of yesterday evening, you guys know that from my take, and I'm going to look at that like a little bit different, because I am about accountability. And I know people didn't like that. But that's where I stand. That's where I stand. It's like nothing personal against anybody. But, you know, we've been saying for the longest, at least over here, that you got to be careful about what you put out here in these streets, because people are always watching. People are always looking. That was understood. That's been understood for the longest. And there are certain things that regardless of how you feel about a person or how you feel about a certain situation or whatever, it's just certain things that you cannot do. There are certain things that you cannot do. And I know people want to talk about the setup and what the system does and all this stuff. But you have to be careful because you can't complain if you get shot if you hand the person the gun, if that makes sense. You can't complain if this person shoots you if you hand them the gun to do it. And that's what's sad to me, is that a lot of times we get so caught up in the antics that whenever people are trying to tell us stuff that, is like for our own good, or maybe they see that we are self-sabotaging and they go and try to, get in your ear to try to pull you back because they see that you're going down the wrong road and you refuse to listen. That's why one of the things that I saw yesterday, people were talking about mental health and people getting help. Like, you preaching to the choir. Like, I'm like the wrong one to tell somebody that somebody else need mental health. Like, that's my life. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, people have to want that. That's not something that you can force on somebody. Hey, Teresa, how you doing? That's not something you can force on somebody. That's something that has to be wanted and accepted. Now, you can go and put people, get court-ordered treatment and all that stuff like that. That's not even like the state that we're in right now. People have to want this. But still, at the end of the day, as grown people, as grown folk, and I haven't ran into anybody on these YouTube streets. Well, I don't know. It might have been one or two. I ain't gonna lie. But I hadn't ran into too many people that weren't intelligent enough to know right from wrong. Brenda, hey, how you doing? How you doing? I haven't ran into too many people yesterday that don't recognize right from wrong. And there are certain things that nobody has to tell you that it's wrong for you to know that it is wrong. And my thing is, I can hear other things that people say, so I know just how intelligent people can be. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Because you can put stuff together in a manner and you can put it together so effortlessly. And you're like, okay, this is your calling. And when it comes to this and getting caught up in all the mess, you put that part to the side because you done got caught up in the glitz and the glamour of the few people, that are giving you attention on here. And you find yourself lost in all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, we can sit here and we can say, girl, I love you. I got your back. Like, we can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you get into some mess. These folks are not trying to bail you out. They are not trying to bail you out. You're not going to get that same love that you may have been given and the support that you may have been given to somebody else. The person that everybody possibly came together for. You're not going to get that same. It's not going to be reciprocated. I can promise you that. It's not going to be reciprocated. And so to put yourself in a situation that can even go down, y'all, I'm sitting up here and I'm still in awe because with the situation that happened last night, like, I had no idea because I stopped watching the channel a long time ago. When you get to a point like, okay, there's no getting through, you just go about your business and, people do what they do. So I didn't know. I had no idea that, stuff had been to that extent. And honestly, I went and looked today and I'm like, well, actually, look, like the person slowed down something, like they had calmed down. But the thing is about life. A lot of people talk about karma. I talk about life. The thing is about life. What's up, Groovy? You can't dictate how things come back at you. When you put stuff out there, you can't dictate. It's like when you pick a fight with somebody, you can't dictate how that fight goes and say, oh, you fighting unfair. A fight is a fight. So once you throw yourself out there, you don't, or throw things out, you don't get to dictate how it comes back. How it comes back around. You don't know how that thing is going to come back around. And sadly enough, we're seeing some of that right now. A lot of people may say it was unexpected. For me, not so much unexpected because I'm ended. And not so much that it was just what that person had going on, just what a lot of people have going on with. Because it's a lot of stuff that's being done out here that's not legal. It's a lot of stuff, Miss Fab, what's going on? It's a lot of stuff that can have some people hemmed up in some situations. This happened to be this particular person's time. This happened to be his time with that, but I don't think it's okay to overlook things. Um, we like you, so we're just going to give you a pass. And one of the things that I always get on my clients about is when they say, oh, well, they know how I am. Saying I know how you are or they know how, that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse, because at the end of the day, you don't know what somebody else is capable of. Most of the time, you don't know what you're capable of when you're put in a certain situation. So to think that you can say, like 100%, like unequivocally, this is not gonna, you can't say what somebody will or will not do. You don't know. But when it comes to certain systems, nobody's waiting around to see what you got going on. Nobody's waiting around. So I actually got a chance to see, some of that paperwork last night, and I'm reading it and I'm like, wow. 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 The thing that I think that I was looking at, just thinking about what a lot of people were saying, I'm just going back looking. I'm like, it was so much stuff that was put out. It was so many threats and stuff that was put, threats that were put out there. You gave them the gun. Like, you literally handed it to them. You put ammunition in it and you handed it to them. Now, I don't know if somebody went and reported him to help jump that stuff off. Miss Fat, you remember. I don't know if somebody tried to go and help jump it off. Somebody tried to say I did. I don't have to do all that. I don't have time for that. I got enough folks to deal with already. Trust me. And let's be clear on something. The type of work that I do, we working in two different realms, okay? Understand that just because somebody work for under a certain system, everybody doesn't do the same thing. So what I do over here has absolutely nothing to do with what happens over here. Don't get it twisted. So for the folks that like putting that stuff out there, quit lying. Stop lying, Craig. I got my own stuff to worry about. A lot of it. On a daily basis. That's why I'm tired now. That's why y'all getting this relaxed live right now, because I am literally chilling on the couch, okay? So it's so much. And just like I said last night, you can love somebody, you can respect somebody, but you can still hold them accountable. And there are a lot of conversations that could have and should have been had on that particular topic alone. But the kind of climate that we're in, that conversation isn't accepted. Because with a lot of folks, if they like you, they don't want to hear anything that goes against you, even if it's the truth. Even if it's something that'll benefit you, people don't want to hear it. They want you to be yes men and yes women and just go along with what they say. So that's why I was a little hesitant. I was a little reluctant last night to even say anything, because I already knew. I'm not fussing, Lavelle. No, don't run. I already knew that some stuff, because it's always somebody with some mess. And let me say this. Y'all know I brush a lot of stuff off. I'm never going to respect a grown person, and this is me. I ain't talking about nobody else. I'm never going to respect a grown person that calls me a name, because that's childish to me. So if your best, if you want to come at me, if the best thing you got is to call me a name, you are like severely wasting your time. Like, you just wasting your time. You wasting your time. But it's those kind of things and those kind of behaviors that lead to what we're seeing right now. It's that kind of stuff. And then when people Egg it on. Yeah, 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 you right. That egging people on is what has people in a lot of situations that they're in right now. Because people didn't want to say something. They're worried about somebody getting mad with them. Exactly. Name calling shows immature. I don't, it doesn't make me mad. I actually laugh because I pride myself on being able to use my vocabulary. Like if I want to get with you, I'm going to use my vocabulary to the best of my ability so that you can understand what I'm saying without me having to insult you. Now, you might feel insulted later after you go back and think about the whole situation in its totality, but I'm not going to do it by calling you a name because I don't need to. If I'm calling you a name, we're doing it in jest. We're just having fun. I'm not calling you a name to get you mad. You're not hurting my feelings, child. I done been called a lot of things. And trust me, you can't call me nothing worse than what I done been called by the folks I have to work with all the time. So you know what I'm saying? So like I was saying, I looked at the paperwork and a lot of the stuff that was in there. The threats, I need people to understand something, that when it comes to threats, an implied threat is still a threat. Just like a lie by omission is still a lie, an implied threat is still a threat. So even though I may not say, oh, I'm going to go, I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to bust your head, I'm going to do all this stuff, if I do certain things to imply that I'm going to do that, if that implication is made and it's like somebody else, the average person sees it and they can perceive it as a threat, then it's a threat. That's how that works. It's not about, oh, I was just joking. Like, this is how that works. If the average person can look at what you said or what you did, and the average person can perceive your actions, your behaviors, your words as a threat, then it is a threat, regardless of what you meant by it. It's a threat. So, and that's one of the things that we have been talking about on this channel for a while. Like, be careful. Do I think? I don't. Butterfly, I absolutely don't. And I'll speak on that without speaking on that a little later, but I don't. You guys know that I had a situation where, you know, I had been threatened, like, we won't get into all that. And I had to go and take the necessary precautions and do whatever I had to do. I just didn't want it to go that far. And that's what I'm saying in these situations. Somebody could have pushed it to go to that extent. And in actuality, it should have went to that extent. But at the end of the day, a lot of us realize that this stuff is entertainment. But these other folks, they don't care about your entertainment. They don't care about who got the most views. They don't care about who got the most followers. They don't care about this stuff. All they care about is the threats that were made and what they are going to do about it. Period, point blank. And as I said before, nobody's going to wait around to see if you're going to actually follow through on what you said. That's not how that works. And it's common sense. Because if anybody else, if you get threatened, you're going to, I mean, that you automatically go into fight or flight mode, and you're sitting up there thinking, okay, what do I need to do first? What do I need to go and get taken care of? But your first, you're going to make sure your home is taken care of. The people that you are around, you're going to make sure those things are taken care of. Natasha, hey, how you doing? How you doing? You're going to make sure that those fundamental things are taken care of. And that's what this situation is. Now, you got something that is going to take place tomorrow. So when you have all this other stuff taking place, and this is why I was saying when I was talking to you guys before about sometimes you have the support, and then you have that that fandemonium. You have that that fandemonium, and stuff goes. People take stuff to the extreme. Well, when you take stuff to the extreme, especially in this type of situation, you're going to get that same type of energy back. You're definitely going to get that same type of energy back. And what's going to happen is people will look later and say, okay, well, maybe you meant this. I don't know, but you're going to have to prove that this is what you meant. With the wording that's in there, one of the things that I heard a lot of people talking about was 30 rounds. And I wrote it somewhere today, and I don't think the person saw it, so I just went ahead and I said, okay, I'm going to leave that alone. The 30 round thing, you got some people you're thinking from what I'm going to call a civilian mentality. You got other people that are thinking from this other type of mentality. And we may say 30 rounds and say, oh, that's like a boxing match. That's what they're talking about. Okay, if you are a person that's constantly talking about shooting people, that's constantly talking about guns, that's your thing, like you're going to blow this off and you're going to do this and you're going to do that, then people that work in certain types of positions, their mindset is completely different. You have to think about all of these mass shootings that have been going on. So to some people that work in certain positions, 30 rounds doesn't mean anything about a boxing match. 30 rounds automatically takes you to the place that somebody is talking about 30 rounds that are going into an automatic rifle. Because people that are familiar with that culture, that's what 30 rounds mean to them. So when I was hearing the conversation, I could understand that people didn't see how they jumped from this to this. That's how they can jump from this to this. And that may not be what that person meant at all. But whenever you put certain things out there, and this is always your conversation, like stuff keeps going back to, I'm going to do this, pow, 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 boop, 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 boop. When you keep doing that stuff, then it's easy for somebody to go and say, oh, well, that's exactly what they meant. Even if that's not what you meant at all, you set yourself up for that. You have given somebody the gun and the ammunition to go and say that this is exactly what you were trying to say. Exactly, Karib. I was trying not to say it that way, but that's what it means in this world. So when people saying that that's a reach, it's because they don't understand the language and the lingo in this world. It's not about somebody just saying, oh, 30, that's not what he meant. Can you honestly say that that's not what he meant if he's always talking about shooting people? Maybe you assumed it was something else and he knew what he was saying the whole time. Not saying that that's what it is, but I always challenge people to think. You got to look at stuff from all angles. Do you know if that's exactly what that was supposed to be? So now you're sitting up here and you got people donating money, right? And they're thinking they're just donating. Oh, we going, and Lord, let me not say that. Because that is not what I mean. So when I say that, listen, I'm just explaining what this stuff means. So whenever you're sending people messages and money and stuff, and that's what you're putting in there, then somebody can easily take it and say, oh, so you trying to help assist him in this thing that he says that he's going to carry out. Whatever y'all supposed to be meeting up for, whatever he's claiming he's going to do here. And if y'all don't have the heart for it, then go ahead and fall out now, like leave now. This is how they're able to put this stuff together. And that's why at the end of the day, even though it may seem like a bunch of fluff to people, this is why you can't play with people like that. This is exactly why you cannot play with people like that. And it's just certain things. You can think what you want to think. And you say whatever you want to say in the privacy of your own home. Not on the live, of course. But you got to know that there are repercussions for every action. Y'all know what it is. For every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. Like we learned that thing. This is how that works. So I wanted to just come and just with that part to help people like understand this is just what I'm thinking, and I could be totally off, but I know what that means in this world. I know what that means. It's certain things, especially if it's like a 15, 30 rounds. And that's what you see a lot of people that are carrying out all these mass events. That's usually what they're using. 30 rounds. So when you go and you make those types of comments, then it's very easy to go. And y'all know I talk about that nexus. It's very easy for them to go and put this part with this part and put this stuff together. Even if that is not what it is. Even if those were not your intentions. When you put enough stuff out there, it's like, how can you prove that those were not your intentions? You set yourself up. And that's what's sad about this situation, because you got to be careful what you speak. If you say that you don't care about being locked up, if you say that you don't care about you know, what these people gonna do, F them, they can't do nothing to me and all this stuff, then you give people a reason to show you exactly what they can do. And this is a little bit different. This is not so easy to get out of. Other things you might be able to buy and barter your way out of, this stuff right here, you get out if they decide to let you out. It's not going to be any petitions being signed. It's not going to be anybody picketing or going and doing rallies outside of a door. No. No. And this is one of the reasons why I was trying to stress, you leave those attorneys alone. You leave those judges alone. I have said that till I was blue in the face. Because I understand. And I know a lot of you understand. But clearly everybody didn't understand. You can go and not like people. People say words matter. I have to stress this again. Don't let these amendments fool you. Yes, you have the right to say God gave you the right. Bump an amendment, God gave you the right to say whatever it is you want to say. But we got to remember that we have God's law and then we got man's law. And even in God's law, we still got to abide by the laws of man. That's all I'm going to say, you know, with that, because I don't want anybody to think I'm starting to get into this, like, religious thing. We take that freedom of speech thing to a whole other level, and we know it's just like the stuff with Amber Heard. She started talking about, well, freedom of speech and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you got freedom of speech, but you don't have the freedom to go and threaten people. Especially federal officials. You don't have the freedom to go and lie on people. And even though we see people doing it every day, you don't have, that's not a freedom that was afforded to you. You may be doing that on your own, but eventually it will catch up with you and you will have to deal with whatever consequences come along with it. That's not one of your civil liberties. Like no. You don't have the right to go and lie on somebody. You got the right to remain silent. Might need to try that sometimes, but you don't have the right to just go and lie on people and just put stuff out there, and you don't have the right to go around threatening folks like that. And the thing is, people do not take threats lightly anymore, and they shouldn't. We're looking every day, somebody is getting hurt, somebody getting shot, like 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. Like it's almost becoming like there's an epidemic like going on. So people are not taking things lightly when you got people going into schools and churches. So you best believe if you're standing in front of one of their buildings, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. So with that, I would encourage people. I would honestly and truly and genuinely encourage people. Don't do that. Don't do that. And be careful when you're speaking on these people, especially on these public platforms like this. You have to be, you got to be careful. You got to be mindful. Definitely have to be mindful. Of the things that are going on, because it's something like there's no coming back from it. My thing personally, everybody has the right to feel the way that they want to feel about a situation. I don't think, my opinion, I don't think it's right or helpful for people to be upset because people don't feel bad for him. And I don't think it's right or helpful for you to get mad for somebody that does feel bad for him. Because people, you feel however you want to feel about a situation. People have their own personal relationships, so it is what it is. Me personally, I just feel like it's certain things you got to be held accountable for your actions. And I can like you and be cool with you all day, but I'm like, okay, you know right from wrong. And I'm not going to get hemmed up with you in your mess. Like, I'm going to try to tell you, like, you need to chill out. Look, you chill out now. Chill out. Go on somewhere with that. Now you're doing too much. Sit down. And after that, like, you're on your own, because you can't force people to do any. Well, you can force them, but well, no, they still got a option. But you can't really force people to do the right thing. You gotta want to do the right thing. It's not you can't spoon feed doing the right thing to people. So I guess that's one of the first things. So I would just just a word of advice, just be mindful, because folks are not playing about this stuff. They are not playing. And again, I want to stress the fact that in this situation, even though people, are entertained by a lot of you, still are talking about real people's lives. Real people. All the way around. These are real people. So regardless of who you're for or who you're against, you're still dealing with real people. And you have to be careful about how you handle a situation, especially when you have something active going on. It makes sense. I'm just saying. And you think about it, you've seen 2 recent cases now. We just had somebody that got to come off 10 point something million for defaming somebody. And the words didn't even come out of her mouth. It was in the article. You had a blogger that's coming off a couple million. They're going to have to get it from somewhere for defaming people. Y'all, this stuff is real. So even when you're putting stuff out there about these attorneys and these judges and it's not true, and you repeating stuff that other people are saying, you better be careful what you're putting out there. Careful. If you're speaking on your own personal experience, it is what it is. If it's something that you saw and something that you dealt with, it is what it is. But all that second and third and fourth and fifth hand information, you better be careful. I'm just saying. I mean, you ain't got to listen to me. Let me get like LeVar Burton, but you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take my word for it. But I mean, that's real. That's real. Y'all. Okay, let me touch on something else real quick, and then I'm going to go into something else. Ghislaine Maxwell. And I probably shouldn't say her name because YouTube going to flag it just for me saying her name. she was given 20 years today for her participation in these crimes with Jeffrey Epstein. Now she's left holding the ball, right? She's left holding the ball. One of the things that happened, this particular trial, I watched a little bit of it, but I really didn't want to get too deep into it because I was looking at some other stuff. I was just more interested in the verdict when it came to this one, but she did, the judge gave her 20 years for her involvement in some sex crimes. So that would only, she got up and spoke. That's one of the things, are you going to get up and speak? Or are you not going to get up and speak? Like what decision? You don't have to get up and speak, but she got up and spoke before she was sentenced. Again, your words can and will be used against you at any given time. Whenever a judge is still making final decisions and they have guidelines that they can still play with, she did not come across as having any remorse. She kind of blamed the people, like, I hope you guys feel good about this extensive sentence or whatever that you guys gave me. So basically when the judge was entering her ruling on the sentencing, she basically said, you know, you still, to this day, you have no remorse. You have accepted no type of responsibility, no accountability for your actions. So even though she could have gave her a few less years than what she did, she went ahead and gave her a little bit over because of the the presentation that Miss Maxwell gave on the way out the door. So I'm saying that because we know we got some stuff coming up tomorrow. And I don't think it's a coincidence that these things are happening back to back right now. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that it's a coincidence that these two things, one day this one and then this one, I don't think that's a coincidence. Personally, just my opinion. So that's why I say whenever you see other trials going on, I think it behooves everybody, even if it's not something that pertains to you specifically. You might want to watch and see what's going on with these other cases and how things are being handled in these other cases. Just something to think about. But she did, they gave her 20 years today. My whole family worked for the government. How did that role play with someone who is innocent? Not saying, okay, hold up. How does that role play with someone who is innocent and not saying sorry? This is my opinion. I'm gonna put this as my opinion, and I know some people might not like this. When you get handed things to you on a certain level, there are certain pieces of it that's gonna have some truth in it somewhere. Somewhere. If not, then they wouldn't be able to stick at all. So even if you may have a lot of untruths and a lot of stuff is not the way that they're saying it is, there's enough small pieces of some things. So my thing is, if you're going before them, and you don't have to say anything, but if you choose to get up and say something, you better choose your words wisely. Choose your words wisely. And me personally, I don't even know if I would say anything other than, you know, for anybody that I may have hurt or you felt that I have hurt you or done you wrong, I apologize. And I would leave it there. period. All the other stuff, I'm not going to go into it because I'm not going to give that judge anything else to try to use against me in the process of him and her coming up with those magic numbers. So I would keep it simple. I would do that, you know, just to show that I do have some empathy. Like I do have a heart. I am human. So let me show you that, you know, anything that I may have done, because I know I'm not an angel, I know I'm not a saint, anything that I may have done that may have harmed or offended anybody, then I apologize for that. Any damage that I may have caused, I apologize for that. And I accept responsibility for my actions. Because only you know what you accepting responsibility for. None of us know. Unless you sit up here and say, I accept responsibility for this and this and that. I accept responsibility for my actions. And I will leave that there, period, point blank. And all that other theatrical stuff, those theatrics, gonna get you some extra time. They riding that line already. We can get between this and this. Oh, this how you feel? Okay, we're gonna go on this end of this spectrum right here. We're gonna inch this right on up to the top. We're gonna push it to the max. This how you feel? Okay. I guess her thing was, in all honesty, she knew she was gonna get time. And this is the thing that I try to explain to people. Don't let nobody fool you. Before folks go into that courtroom, like before sentencing, they already have an idea of what that judge is going to give them. So even with, you know, people can sit there and pray and say this is going to happen and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. The attorneys have talked to these people. They've had several conversations. They've talked about what their options are, and they already have an idea of what they're facing when they go in there. So at that point, it's just, okay, is this going to be the decision or is this going to be the decision? And hopefully it'll fall somewhere on the lower end or somewhere in between. It won't be on the higher end. Like that's how that works. So even with Ghislaine Maxwell, it wasn't a surprise that they told her 20 years today. She was probably hoping that maybe it was just 17, which is 3 years. People are like, okay, what are 3 years? Well, it's a lot if you're doing time. But just her sitting there and not accepting any type of accountability, not taking any type of accountability for her actions, that played a major part in that 17 versus that 20. So it's stuff that seems small, and that's why I say the stuff that happened like last night. Like people that are concerned that folks, oh, well, they gonna think that they gotta relate. These people know. They know who he does and doesn't have a relationship with, and I'm gonna leave that there. Don't nobody have to tell them nothing. They know. Now, if you pick that up, then pick it up. Nobody has to tell them, oh, well, he don't really talk to it. Nobody has to tell them that. So that shouldn't even be a concern of anybody. Nobody has to tell them, oh, well, he didn't know him. He doesn't have a relationship with him. They don't talk that. They know better than you do. Nobody has to tell them that. So that's why I'm saying whatever he has going on, that's his situation. He's going to have to deal with that situation. That's his situation. And even though somebody else's name may get mentioned, I mean, it's going to be mentioned when you're doing stuff and you're saying you're doing it in the name of this person. So his name is going to be mentioned. Miss Fat, you catching it? You know what I mean? It's I have to be careful about how I present things. I know a lot of people don't like it and they get mad, boy, they get real mad, but I wish I could talk to you guys the way that I want to talk to you, but I can't. So I have to, you know, do the things that I can do. Um, I wonder why she didn't tell on anyone. Oh, Miss Fat, I didn't see that. She is supposed to be doing a tell-all book. She has an offer for a book deal, a multi-million-dollar offer for a book deal, and it is supposed to be a tell-all. See, the thing is with her, with her situation, and this was the thing that I was saying to people from the very beginning. A lot of people give out misinformation. A lot of people give out disinformation. There's a difference. Misinformation is when you genuinely, you just got it wrong. You said it wrong. Okay, maybe you had something a little off. Disinformation is you just straight lying. And a lot of people, a lot of people give out disinformation. They actually have one on Amazon Prime. I started watching it yesterday. They have shoot, I can't think of the name of it. I watched the first part of it yesterday. And it'll give you a little insight. But there's also about 2 years ago I spoke about a story, the Nexium trial, well, case, and it is similar to the Epstein case, but it's a whole lot more people that were involved. And unless you were part of a certain sector, you really didn't hear too much about it. But it was major. This sector, you know, we seeing what's going on with this, and I oh my gosh, I don't know if people, you see that thing there, this is really being caught. Let me not say this, because I told you I'm traveling in my own lane. But the sector that a lot of people, like, it's being identified as like a subculture, subcult, okay, subculture. So when you see some of these behaviors, let me move on. One of the other things that I wanted to touch on is when we talk about people that have been in, hey, Miss Eva, how you doing? People that have been put in situations where they have been victimized. I think it's disingenuous. It's disingenuous to see some people or recognize their victimhood, or that they could have possibly been through something and it affected them a certain way, and we just overlook what somebody else has going on. And because we don't like a person or we don't care for them, just like the stuff that was happening with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but this is not specifically what I'm talking about, but like our feelings just supersede like what these people have actually gone through. And I'm gonna need y'all to follow me on this. You have stuff that comes out, and like I was saying before, certain things like people think they know, and you don't know. You don't know exactly what people had going on, and you don't know what people have had to work with people with. People can write a book and you still don't really know their life story. And I know I hear people say, well, this shouldn't have affected them this way because it didn't affect these people this way. But understand something, and this is why I never got into this conversation about victimhood and who's a victim and who's not a victim, and all this stuff. That's why I never touched that conversation, because at the end of the day, everything that happens to somebody affects them differently. Everything affects people in a different way. So this may have happened to this person, and the end result of them not getting help, maybe they fell into the criminal life because they didn't get any assistance. Somebody else could have went through a similar situation, and maybe they became, more of a hypersexual individual. Everything is about sex. Somebody else may have a similar situation, and maybe they turned to drugs. That was their out. So my thing is, at the end of the day, as things come out, Miss Eva, I hope you're feeling better. I hope you're feeling better. Prayers for you. As things come out, especially out here on social media, again, because I hear a lot of stuff, and some stuff, oh, that's cute. But a lot of things, I'm sitting up here and I'm like, it blows my mind with some of the thinking that I see with this, because I'm like, unless you've been through certain situations, there's certain things that you're never going to understand. And it doesn't matter how intelligent we think we are. There's certain things that we're just not going to understand. It's certain things that happen to people that we will not understand. And we can put our opinions on it all day. But there are certain things that you will not understand. And they're not meant for you to understand. And hopefully you'll never get put in the situation where you will have to understand. But there are things that happen in people's lives that affect them into adulthood. And when you go through any type of trauma, regardless of whether you get help, and this is the thing that I want people to understand, because they got the game all twisted when it comes to this stuff. Regardless of if you get help, you are still affected by whatever that trauma was that happened to you, depending on what type of trauma that was. And when certain things happen to you when you are young, especially when we're talking about SA, and y'all gonna have to catch that SA, when we're talking about those types of things, a lot of young people, they retreat. And their defense mechanism is to basically shut down. And you may not see the shutdown on the outside. And I talked about this a long time ago. For a lot of young kids, a lot of young people that are traumatized, that have gone through some type of traumatic event when they are young, their brain tends to shut down, and it stays at the age that that trauma started. There are a lot of things from the beginning that I told you guys about, and I know a lot of people got pissed. You can't say that about, you don't know, you don't did. This is what I do. So as you start seeing stuff, recently, as you start seeing stuff, I want you to go back and think and understand that everybody has their own situations that they go through. And you don't know how it's going to affect people, or how it is affecting people down the road. I shared my story with you guys before of what I went through for years. A person that didn't know me and didn't know anything about me would never know that that was ever something that I experienced. But if you are in a personal relationship with me, then you're going to see a completely different side of me. And you'll see the stuff that I have to work on. You'll see the stuff that I have to deal with to this day. So when I see, because there's stuff that has come out and stuff that's going to continue to come out, and I know people, oh, that's terrible, but let's just say that's bad what happened to that person, and just leave that there. Like, thank God they made it through that. Thank God. And just leave that part there. Just leave that there, and thank God it hasn't happened to you or and somebody that's close to you. Leave that part there. Thank God they made it through, and pray that he helps them get through whatever they need to get through from this point on. Like, however they're dealing with it, if they handled it, didn't handle it, pray. And as the days go by, you guys will probably figure out what I'm talking about if you don't know what I'm talking about now. But just because we don't like somebody, or we feel like people are wrong, or we don't like the way that the story is being told, or we can't overlook the fact that certain things have happened to people. And we can't just go and just disregard people's experiences because we have some type of issue going on. Because if you have never experienced this stuff, it's really not something that you should even be speaking on when it comes to those things. It's just like somebody that has been involved in domestic violence, who has been a victim of domestic violence, versus somebody that has never been around it, has never seen it, but they want to go and speak on something that they know nothing about. Like, you looking real crazy. It's easy to speak on something that you don't know anything about. It's easy to say what a person should do, could have done, what you would have done. You don't know what you would have done if you haven't been in that situation. You don't know how it would affect you if you haven't been in that situation. You don't know if you would have been strong enough to leave right then after the first hit if you haven't been in that situation. You don't know if you would be strong enough to leave after the first bout of psychological abuse if you haven't been in that situation. But these things come easy whenever we're putting commentary out. They come real easy. Why did she wait until then? If I can't find, say she came out because she was asking. Yeah, it's just something different. And as the days go forward, with tomorrow approaching, tomorrow is going to be a big day for a lot of people. Tomorrow is probably going to be an emotional day. To the main person, tomorrow is going to be a extremely emotional day. I would hope in the midst of all this, regardless of what your feelings are about anything that's going on, that you remember that in these situations that there are actual humans involved. There are real people involved. And everybody has a story. And regardless of how you feel about the people that are involved, the person that is going to be getting the news or whatever tomorrow, everybody's entitled to feel how they want to feel, but don't overlook the fact that that person has a story as well. Jocelyn, I can tell you, for me, and I'll be a little transparent because I already told the story before. For me, when it was happening to me, I was too young to understand that what was being done was wrong. And it was something that, because I didn't know, I thought it was normal. Like, I didn't know. I knew that I didn't like it. I knew that I wasn't comfortable. But I didn't know that they weren't supposed to be doing what they were doing. If that makes sense. I was getting ready to graduate high school. I was getting ready to graduate high school when I finally had that aha moment, when we were having a conversation in it's called, it was TI. Anyway, it was a teen intervention program that we had at school, and we were just talking about some things. And during that conversation, I realized what had happened to me. And this stuff stopped when I was about, I think, maybe 12. So from 12, I graduated at 17. That time span in between, like I know I felt a little different about stuff. I knew I wasn't comfortable with certain things. I knew I looked at people sideways. I knew I watched people when they were with kids because it was something like I was like, I was looking at everybody. Everybody was suspect to me. At that particular time, I didn't know why. But I just, like, if I didn't like the way that you were holding the baby, or if I saw a guy putting the baby in their lap and, like, bouncing them like that, but, like, I was looking at all that stuff, and I didn't know why it bothered me the way that it bothered me. And like I said, we had a situation, and I won't go into the whole story, but like I said, we had a situation one day with the person that was doing it to me. It finally, like, it clicked, and I said, I'm going to tell my mama what you did to me. And he had like it was nothing. It didn't bother him one way or the other. The thing is, it happened with that because that was my cousin. It was my first cousin. And he's serving time in prison right now. He's been, as a matter of fact, he's been in prison since my first year in college. He got accused of a murder that he didn't commit, and he's been doing time for that. And that's why I say, like in the situation that happened with the person last night, you got to be careful about what you put out there, because maybe you didn't do this. Like I said, you don't know how it's going to come back to you. Because had I went and reported it and got him locked up, he wouldn't have done the time that he's doing for this murder that was put on him. So you don't know how that stuff is going to end up coming back around. You just don't know how it's going to come around. And I don't feel good about him being in there. I actually feel bad. And believe it or not, I even tried to help him. He reached out to me to help him with that situation because he was wrongfully convicted. So my thing is, you have a lot of people saying, well, why? Like I said, everybody's situation is different. And that wasn't the only encounter that I had. That wasn't the only encounter that I had, but that was the one that was the main one. So my thing is, and that's why I said everybody reacts differently. For me, in my situation, and even coming up in the house where I saw domestic violence as well, I handled things differently because, and I thank God, Lord, that I came up in my mama was real about that stuff. But there were certain things I said I was going to make sure nobody was ever going to have the opportunity to do to me ever again. You're not going to have the first or the second time. It's going to be a problem. You won't put your hands on me. We're not going to even play fight, because if you hit me the wrong way or touch me the wrong way, we throwing hands. We going all day. So we ain't even doing that. We ain't doing that. If you talk to me like you want to bust a move, we're going to have a problem. It's just certain things that I carried myself a different way, and it was a result of that. Me going into psychology. That was the reason that I decided to go down the path that I went with psychology and counseling. That's the reason why I went down this road, criminology. That's the reason I went down this road, being able to analyze people and situations. That's the reason why I went down this road, because not only did I want to understand my situation, I wanted to understand what was going on with the person that felt the need to do whatever they did. But I also understood that at the end of the day, that just like the person that is going to be facing their fate tomorrow, my family had some cognitive deficits. And I mean, he can go out, unless you had to deal with him like on a, like really trying to, he had some cognitive deficits. I'll just leave it that way. And that put me in a place where I could forgive him, not forget, but forgive him. But still to this day, you're still affected by it. It affects you in your personal relationships. It's not even getting help. And I mean, for a lot of people, you're looking at a lifetime of PTSD. And you deal with it. And everybody deals with that differently. So that's what I'm saying. I hope that people feel the way that you feel. But, you know, just remember that you never know what kind of situation that you may find yourself in. Or somebody close to you may find themselves in. You don't know. So you have to be careful about what you say about situations and what you wish on people. Even when you're wishing people the worst, you want people under the jail. I saw like a lot of those, you know, comments today. I'm not going to be the one to say, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do, because I had a brother that went to prison. My brother that's deceased. And I know what it feels like to be the family on the other side. And then I know what it feels like to be the people that's on the inside looking at these families coming to visit. So it's just certain things. I'm not wishing that on anybody. Do I think you need to be held accountable for your actions? Absolutely. I stand on that. But like wishing like death on people and just wishing that the worst happens to them, whatever situation that you got going on that has you doing whatever you're doing, I need you to pray on that and for you to get whatever help you need to get. And if you need to get that help while you're incarcerated, then it is what it is. If that's what it's going to take for you to get that help, then I have to live with that. But whatever it is that got you going through whatever you're going through, that needs to be remedied quick, fast, and in a hurry. So that's just... So that's just where I'm at with that. Like, don't... And I hate to say don't, because I don't like telling people what to do. Just be careful. Be mindful about how you speak on people and speak on people's situations whenever it comes to certain things, because you don't know a person's story. And people always say, well, what if it was your this and what if it was your that? Well, you got to remember that too. If the shoe on the other foot, what if it's your this and what if it's your that? Like, that goes all the way around. That works both ways for everybody. What if? What if you got a person that you love, your brother, your sister, your auntie, your uncle, whoever, and they're being accused of something, and maybe they did it, or maybe they being accused and they didn't do it, like, and you're the one that's taking the heat, because while they're going through their stuff, you're out here and people are looking at you like you did something wrong, because you are associated with them, because that's your family, because that's your close friend, because you have these close ties. Like, this stuff goes both ways. And then if something happens, somebody puts their hands or violates somebody's, like, it goes all the way around. So we have to be careful, because Lord have mercy, he got a way of letting us see that it ain't what we think it is. And that's why I try to be careful with things. And I beg other people to, like, be careful with how you handle situations, and be careful about rejoicing and other people's downfalls. And I mean that. Now, if somebody is being held accountable, it is what it is, but rejoicing in it, you better be careful. You better be careful. I'm sorry, because ain't nothing godly about it. And ain't nobody claiming to be godly. I'm just telling you, ain't nothing godly about it. Now, I know so well. I helped my uncle. He was in his last stages of dementia. So can you imagine how I felt? He didn't remember anything. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I can't say I know how you feel, but I get it. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, and I'm gonna say God in this, sometimes He allows us to get put in certain situations, and it's you're sitting there and you're like, how in the world could I possibly be helping this person? And that's why, oh, that's why when people are like, they get on this Stockholm syndrome. And I hate when people talk about that because they talk about it the wrong way. But we got all these psychologists around here that just, they read a little bit and now they like the experts in it, and they're referring to the wrong thing. Sometimes you get put in a place where it's not so much that you have been brainwashed, and now that you've been brainwashed, now you're going to go and help this person and you're falling for everything that they say. Sometimes you are put in situations that you can't get out of. Even if you want to walk away from it, you couldn't walk away from it because it's sometimes it's the way that you're going to have to deal with it. Like you get thrown in that situation for you to be able to deal with it. And sometimes that's where your forgiveness comes from. Sometimes you're able to see, like, this person did all this stuff to you, and you get to, like, their thought process is no longer there, and you're sitting there and you're witnessing that. And then it's hard for you to be mad with them. It's hard for you to still have that. If you had hate or if you had anger, it's hard for you to have that same hate or that same anger when you're working with them, because now they're no longer the threat that they were to you before. Now you're working with a vulnerable individual, and your mind starts to change. There are shifts in your thinking. There are shifts in the way that you start feeling about a situation. And that's what I'm saying. We don't know what kind of situations we are going to be put in. You looking at me working in a certain type of field, and I'm the one that the same cousin that did this stuff to me for all these years, once he gets caught up in this situation where he is wrongfully accused and wrongfully convicted and given 15 years to life, then I'm the one that he chooses to reach out to. So you don't know what kind of situation that you're going to find yourself in. And sometimes you don't know. And sometimes you do get a little, sometimes he will let you know, see, this is why I put you in this situation. Sometimes you're lucky enough to get a little hint, or you're lucky enough to be able to figure things out, but you don't know. And I'm saying this, and we know on YouTube people will try to take stuff and use it against you. If that's what you feel that you need to do with this, then may the force be with you, and God can deal with you on that. But I'm hoping that it's helping somebody today that could have possibly went through something to know that you can make it through. But don't let anybody tell you how you should feel about something, how you should react about something, that you should have did this, you should have did that, it shouldn't have took this, it should. None of that stuff matters, because none of these people went through what you went through. Even if they went through a situation, it's still not the same situation that you went through. The person that has the stuff going on tomorrow, him and his brothers all went through something with their sister, but they all have different stories. They all have different stories. And everybody handled their stuff differently. The cousin that I told you guys about now that dances her butt off. I mean, she has been violated in so many ways I can't even explain. And she turned to drugs. She did so much stuff. And to see her right now, you would never believe. You would never believe that she went through half of the stuff that she went through. And her mama was a part of it, because she was on drugs. She was out there. But I know that it's still real, because whenever she's going through something, I'm the one she calls. Because that's something that, as cousins, that dealt with that same cousin, because he did it to both of us. He's my cousin, he's her uncle. Like we have that bond. And even when it's like, sometimes you can just feel. You can feel it. They don't even have to say anything. You can feel it. You can feel it. So I guess my thing is just be mindful. Just be mindful. And I'm probably going to stay away from a lot of the stuff tomorrow because I know it's going to be just a whole lot of stuff going on. You're welcome, Jonna. Those with scales over the eyes can't see that. A person once wrote a song that said, "You better be careful what you say to me, because it might turn around on." It's true. Better be careful what you do to me, because somebody might do it to you, or do it to someone close to you. Socialists be wrong. I work with them and been around. A lot of them need help. People do too much. Sometimes our hearts are so good because we try to live a Christian life and knowing that God is forgiving God, we try to do the same. Miss Eva, absolutely. 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 I've come down on myself because I'm transparency. Why am I helping this joker? Like, I had this conversation with myself. Why are you helping him? Like, I got mad with myself. Why are you helping him? You see my face still change even when I'm thinking about it. Like, why are you helping him? Why? And then it turns back. Why did you even feel that? Why are you reaching out to me? Now, these thoughts came way after the fact. It wasn't when it happened. These thoughts came way after the fact because my initial reaction, I helped them. I helped him go and research some stuff. He's still there. So regardless of, the family praying and doing all this stuff, we come from a praying family. But there are some things that you have to let his will be done. And if this, even with, I can share a story with you guys. It's been a couple years ago. My cousin's sister, we were at hairdresser, and my family, we got like a mixed, okay, it's either military, law enforcement, or nurses. Like, that's my family. Military, law enforcement, or nurses. Those are your options. And his sister, we were sitting at a hairdresser, and she was, I don't know how his name came up, but he went before the parole board. And, she's telling me about it, and she's like, he ain't going nowhere because he can't stop jacking, off on these people. Now, this may be a little too explicit for people, but if you work in this background, I don't know if Basic Mom is still in here, you know what jacking off means. And in a correctional environment, jacking off, even though other people may think it's nothing, it's literally jacking off. Okay. But in a correctional environment, that's something that can be taken as a threat, especially when the person that's doing it is of the opposite sex and they're doing it to you. And there's nothing welcomed about it because there's nothing consensual about it. But these are things that you can get new charges for. You can get new SA charges for doing that in that type of environment. And I hadn't heard anything about him for a long time. So when she said that, and she's a big wig in her facility, she actually runs a facility. When she told me, it just hit me. I hadn't thought about him in years. It hit me because I'm like, he got a pass. Like, I never told on him. I never reported him. I didn't go to the police. I didn't tell my mama what happened to him till I was darn near, I was in my 30s when I told my mama what happened. You got a pass. And you still in here doing this stuff? Like, that thing shook me for a while. It shook me, and I got mad with myself all over again because I'm like, I helped this joker, I did. And now I'm like pissed because I'm like, I should have just turned you behind in. it affects people in different ways. It just affects people in different ways. So no one talk about the regular people who really suffer out there. No one else would help but me and my sister. But what's going on with this? I don't understand. It was, oh, Lord have mercy. Sorry, y'all. It was relationship, living life, I guess, because I don't want to get too deep into that because I know that's a whole other conversation. I think that just goes back to decision making. And I'm just going to say for everybody that's on here now, you have to be careful about the people that you allow in your circle. You got to be careful about the people that you get into relationships with. You got to be careful about the people that you lay down beside. Or if you standing up, whatever's your pleasure, like you got to be careful about the folks that you are dealing with, but you have to make good decisions as well. And just like in the case with the situation that happened last night, when you have people talking to you and telling you, look, that's not a good idea, you need to back away from that. Like I take the other people out of the equation. Because at the end of the day, you have to make the right decisions. You got to make the right decisions. And if something does not feel good to you, and we're usually given a sign, that intuition is real. If something does not feel right to you, if it does not feel good to you in your gut, leave it alone. If somebody shows you who they are, leave it alone. If you have somebody that's in your corner that's trying to help you and give you good advice and stuff like that, listen. You might not like it. You don't have to accept everything that they say. But listen and take heed. And most importantly, when God is telling you something, listen. You can ignore man, but you cannot ignore God. You cannot ignore God. So that is like, right now today, no one knows what my stepfather did to me growing up, even though I showed all the signs. And Miss Eva, that's the way, the thing that I working with families, I'm working with couples. One thing that I have found to be true, because a lot of times stuff may happen to people's kids and the parents end up, when they find out, a lot of them don't believe it at first. It's not because they think their kids are lying, but they're in denial. They don't want it to be true, right? And then a lot of them get upset with themselves because there may have been things going on. There may have been some telltale signs, but still recognizing that everybody has a different experience. And everybody's not familiar with the signs. So you'll have a lot of parents that once they find out, they're upset with themselves because, hindsight is 20/20. So when they go back and they think about the things, like I think you just put something in there about bedwetting. So when they see those things, now they're upset with themselves because they're like, okay, this was happening. Or she was, rebellious during this time. Or she started having nightmares during this time. Or certain things started happening. She shut down. She was like a recluse during this time. And we didn't know what was going on. Like, people start seeing that stuff, like, after the fact. But a lot of times people get so involved in their day-to-day lives, especially parents that are working. And they really, like, they're so busy trying to take care of the house, get bills paid, you know what I'm saying, take care of the foundation, that they completely overlook that part. And a lot of kids end up resenting their parents. A lot of adults end up resenting their parents because they feel like their parents should have known. And like in actuality, again, for people that haven't been through certain things, they don't pick up on some of that stuff. Now, somebody that has been through something, they're a little bit more, you know, they're checking stuff because they know what they went through. So they may ask you questions. Well, what's going on with this? Why are you doing this? What, like they're just more, they're on it. But somebody that hasn't been through it, or they don't work in that type of environment where they're looking at signs or whatever, they may completely look over that, and it may look like, you know, like you were just being negligent, and it wasn't negligence. They were just so involved in their day-to-day that they just they didn't see it. And then a child that has been through that, like you got different ways, because you may have that one child that may just be quiet and shut down. And that's it. They're quiet and they shut down. Then you have that other child that went through something and they act out. And then you have that other child that may have gone through something very similar, and they go and live their lives like nothing happened. They feel it on the inside, but they're not going to let you see it on the outside. So it's hard for parents to be able to gauge that sometimes with their kids, because everybody handles those situations differently. God has given all of us different ways to cope with situations. And that's the thing. So that's why I say you never know how a situation is going to affect somebody down the road. But you definitely have a lot of parents that don't know that some things were going on. Now, and in the other case, we got stuff completely different, because when we talk about kids not being home and being gone for days and stuff like that, but we are not talking about that. We're just talking about stuff that's happening in a home. It doesn't necessarily have to be a dysfunctional home, or at least people on the outside would never know that it was dysfunctional. But if that stuff is going on in the house, then it is actually a dysfunctional home. And I know y'all might not want to hear this stuff. Like, I didn't even plan on going into all this today. But we kind of in my lane when it comes to that stuff. So I think it's relevant right now with what happened today with Ghislaine Maxwell and the stuff that's going on right now. You just need to talk about some things. You really need to talk about what you have going on. And like I said, someday I'll be able to tell you guys a full story without having to take shortcuts around it. But yeah, sometimes people have to be convinced that, you know, you got to set your ego to the side and let people know what happened to you. You got to push that, like, forget what people are going to think, like all that stuff. And you got to let people know what happened to you. And that's the conversation you have to have with a lot of people. It doesn't matter what people are going to think at the end of the day. You got to let people know what happened. And it also lets people know that they are not alone. So, yes, all right, most definitely. You have to be careful who you're around. I get it. I know you can only say so much. That's all right. I'm an FP. And you will believe the children I have had in my home that have been, and you learn to look for the signs and act. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, a lot of stuff stands out. But then you have those that don't stand out because they have learned how to cope with it in their own way. I mean, you may have somebody that's acting normal, but if you go and look in a notebook that they have, you may see drawings of all kind of stuff, and that's where you see that something's not right. You can sometimes look at smaller kids playing with dolls or playing with toys, and you can see some interactions with toys. That's how sometimes we can tell what's going on in people's houses, just from watching the kids playing with toys and how they interact with the toys. We just sit back and watch. And there's a lot of stuff that can be told without one word being said, just by sitting back and watching. So it's levels. It's definitely it's levels. So I apologize for holding you guys this long. I did not plan on being on this live this long, but I do realize that there are going to be some important things um, going on. And for those that um, are waiting to see what happens with this other situation, my suggestion, this is my suggestion. You don't have to listen to me. My suggestion would be to pull away from this stuff tonight. Go and say a prayer for whoever you need to pray for, and leave that there and just wait till tomorrow or whatever and see what happens. But watching all the stuff tonight and all the anticipation and all that stuff, you're gonna have a lot of foolishness. You're definitely gonna have a lot of foolishness once everything is said and done. So you got to decide which part of the foolishness you want to be on. One thing I did do was I forgave him. I still love him the same. He never understood why, but God knew, and that's all that matters to me. All right, Miss Eva. That's why my twins went to work with me, because back in the day it went on in this culture. That's why people shouldn't be judging people and be real. It goes on. Oh my goodness. That's enough. Y'all, we're going to have a conversation about that. I'm going to wait till this stuff blows over. And we're definitely going to have a conversation about that. I can't speak about anybody else's family, but I can definitely tell you about some stuff that has happened in my family. So when I hear people saying, no, this can't be true and this can't be true because of that and that, let me tell you something. If you got down into their family secrets, and some of them not even secrets, you just got to be older to know that a lot of stuff has happened. But if you start getting down and having some of these conversations with people in your family, you'd be surprised what has happened in your family. Real talk. You will be surprised. You get some of these older folks talking, and it don't just happen with older folks, but it was more prevalent, or it seemed to be more prevalent then. Or maybe it was because people weren't being punished for it then. I'm not quite sure what the difference is between then and now, but there are a lot of things going on within families, and you know, you got your parents, you know, what happens in this house stays in this house. Don't go out telling people our business. And or they find out something happens, you know, uncle did something, and uncle did something somewhere, and then you're sitting there and it's like, you know, they go and they have a word with them, and it doesn't go any further than that. That uncle may be gone for a little while, and then, you know, a couple weeks, couple months later, he back hanging out at the house again. So and people are acting like nothing ever happened. And then later on, you find out that, you know, you weren't the only one. He did it to this one, he did it to that one, he did it to that one, he did it to that one. So, I mean, these things are real. These things are real, and they don't just happen in black families. Don't let nobody fool you. This stuff happens all the way around. Don't let nobody fool you. But it definitely happens. It definitely happens. You went through that. It helped me to minister to other women and men. My journey hadn't been easy, but God has truly sustained me through it all. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about is in life. Amen. Yeah. So, I'm hoping y'all got something out of this. Y'all got any questions or any comments? Feel free to leave some comments down below. I'm sending prayers out to everybody tonight. Everybody that's going through. It don't matter who it is. Everybody that's going through. You know, let's try not to be too selective with our prayers, because everybody can use a little word. And a lot of conversations because I'm a survivor. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. That's good, Miss Eva. That's good. That's also a way of healing, too. Like I said, we get stuff put in our way to help us cope with certain situations. God know what He doing. We may not understand it while we going through stuff, and it may look crazy, and we just don't get it. But He knows what He's doing. It's not always our job to know. It's not always meant for us to understand stuff, but He knows what He's doing. So, just throw some words up there for everybody, everybody, and don't forget yourself. Please don't forget yourself. I thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm not sure if I'll come back tomorrow after all is said and done, because I know a lot of people are going to be, like, whatever happens tomorrow, a lot of people are going to be coming on. And I probably won't, because I can't really say too much about what's going on with that anyway, so I'll probably just be sitting in the bushes myself, and just watching to see what ends up happening. So, like I said, prayers for everybody that is involved. Everybody. Not one. Everybody that's involved. And yeah. And I will see you guys next time. Don't forget, if you have not hit that like button, please hit that like button on your way out. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to become a member, then please do so. Lord, hold on, y'all. Me to Miss Eva, I'm a survivor and a living testimony. I thank God I was 11 years old. Now I'm 60. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And let me say this before I get off here, y'all. You decide whether or not you are a victim or a survivor. That's a personal choice that you have to make. If you see yourself as a victim, then a victim you shall be. If you see yourself getting out of and making it through a situation and seeing where you have been brought from and how you still made it when you thought you would never get through that situation, that's a state of mind. That's a state of mind. And I say that because I honestly, regardless of what side of the pendulum you are on, please do not forget that everybody has been through something. May not be the same something, but everybody has been through something. So, just remember that. Just remember that. All right, y'all. I'm going to get off here. Appreciate you guys. Again, I hope you got something out of it. And we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget, prayers for everybody. Have a good night. Bye.